Welcome to the land of pandas.
Hey everyone, it's Land of Pandas, here to talk to you about the preseason new items. In this video, we'll be talking about the support item changes and how you can build your supports. I know a lot of people are feeling overwhelmed, so hopefully by the end of this video, you'll feel a lot more comfortable going into the games and itemizing specifically for each game. So, first things first, the new items really open build paths to be different every single game depending on your team and depending on the enemy team. I highly recommend changing your build every single game, pressing tab, looking at the enemy team, looking at your team, and hopefully by the end of my explanation, you'll know which items to build in which situations. So let's first talk about the 4 mythics that are suited for supports. The first one is Imperial Mandate. Now, anything that slows or immobilizes a champion will deal extra damage and mark them. If your ally champion hits that person, they'll detonate the mark and deal extra damage. So this is a very aggressive item, as you can already tell. It's dealing extra damage, and it's based off your slow or immobilization. But it says slow or immobilization, so most champions can actually proc this. Even Soraka Q can proc this, theoretically, even though it might not be really ideal on that champion. But, on Nami, for example, your bubble, but also your slow with auto attacks. That also procs Imperial Mandate. If you're Lulu and you use Q on somebody, that procs Imperial Mandate. So this item can be built on quite a lot of champions. I would say it's best suited towards champions like Lux or like Morgana or Bard, who've got a little bit of that safety net from how far away they can be when they land these mobilizations or slows. But this can be on a lot of different champions. And you want to build this item when you're the aggressive team, when you've got the aggressive bot lane, and you really feel like you can kill them this game. That's when you want to build this. If you're more on the defensive, this would not be an ideal item to pick. The second item is Locket of the Iron Solari. They have changed this item and made it really good for literally every champion. Every support champion can build this item because it gives a shield based on ally level. Once again, has nothing to do with your HP, has nothing to do with your level. You could be a Lulu and build this item and be giving a big shield to your ally. I love that. This means that it could be built on any support and should be built on every support. Specifically against, those assassin teams, those Karthus teams. Whenever you can really benefit from this really big shield, this is a fantastic item to build. If you're against a lot of assassins and you want to save your ADC, Imperial Mandate ain't going to cut it. You're going to need Locket of the Iron Solari, give them a big shield, give them armor and magic resist. It's fantastic. This should be built on every champion when the time calls for it. So keep your eye open, press tab at the start of the game. Oh my god, they have a Fizz, Katarina, and Rengar somehow in some combination of lanes. My AD carry is going to die if I don't buy Locket. You should really be thinking like that. Next item is Shirelia's. This item is being slept on right now. People are not understanding how good this item is. They don't think of it. They think if you're going aggressive to go Imperial Mandate. Well, this is somewhat aggressive, but this is for one person. This targets one person. Shirelia's gives movement speed to your entire team and gives them extra damage. I feel like people haven't really noticed that. This is basically giving like Ardent Sensor magic on hit buff for abilities and attacks by all of your champions. So you're giving this buff to all 5 of you around. You're getting movement speed and increased damage on all your hits. That is a crazy boost of damage and speed for a team fight. So I would highly suggest building this. Once again, could be built on any champion, but it's best built when you're on a team that runs at them. This is really good for run-at-them compositions. If you have a lot of melee champions on your team, and they're going to be kited away by the enemy ranged champions, and they need that extra boost, this is fantastic to get your team in there, into the fight. If you're lacking engage tools, this can also help with that by a lot. This item is being slept on. It should be built more often, I think. People maybe were just like trying to try the newer items, less exciting ones. This item is very good. So really press tab. My team is going to have difficulty catching up to them. I should build Shirelia's. In general, this item will still probably be best on champions like Rakan and Blitzcrank, and maybe Janna, who already scale really well with movement speed for their engages. But I think it's still a viable option in quite a lot of situations for a lot of supports. The last item is Moonstone Renewer. Whenever you affect enemy champions with attacks or abilities in combat, you start healing wounded allies near you. So this is pretty good on a lot of champions. In fact, it allows any champion the ability to heal. All you have to do is hit the enemies and you're healing allies. So any champion has the ability to heal. There's no other requirements for this. So theoretically could be built on any champion. I will get a little bit more into that in a minute, but that's the gist of it. It will be mostly built on, Sorakas, on the Yumis, the people who like to stay in the back and maybe just assist with their, like a Soraka Q or the silence, just from far away. Yumi shooting out Qs here and there is going to be giving this stream of healing to the allies. And that's when it's going to be most useful. But I'll come back to this item in a quick second when I talk about some other items. So those are the four main mythics for supports. And there are other options, which I'll talk about later. But those are the 4 ones that are suited for supports right now. So let's talk about the main support items that they have in the game. Starting with Ardent Sensor. It's the same Ardent Sensor as last season. You heal, you shield. They get attack speed. They get damage. It's good stuff. It does not give cooldown reduction, though. Which is important to notice that Renewer grants your other legendary items ability haste, so it doesn't feel as bad if you pair these items together, because then you'll get at least the ability haste from Moonstone Renewer. But otherwise, you might be lacking in your ability haste, so make sure you're getting that stat from somewhere. And they have a new version of this now, which is Staff of Flowing Water, which helps your AP carries out. So maybe you have a really AP heavy team. Maybe you have a Cassiopeia bot lane and you want to buff them. This is the way to do it. You're giving them ability power and movement speed, things Cassiopeia really loves. And once again, it works really well with Moonstone Renewer. So there's a really cool thing. This is whenever it's healing or shielding. And Moonstone Renewer heals. And any champion can buy Moonstone Renewer. That means that any champion can give healing and shielding to champions and build Ardent Sensor and Staff of Flowing Water. So just one example of that is I played Teemo using Moonstone Renewer, Ardent Sensor, and Staff of Flowing Water. You get the attack speed bonus and the on-hit and the ability power while healing your teammates just by auto-attacking once. So it does leave open some really unique ideas with that, and there's probably other champions in which these 3 items can go really well with. It's just an idea. I feel like some more people can do some more testing and figure out what works with it. But in general, these 3 items work really well with each other. If you are that Yumi or that Soraka, you can consider building some combination of these 3 and have a good time. So now I'll talk about my current favorite item in the game. I think it's so good. Zekes Convergence is so nuts. It gives you 300 health. It gives you 20 ability haste, and it gives you armor. So I like me some defenses as support. The best thing to do is save your ADC, but who's going to save you? Ain't nobody going to save you. It's up to you to save you. So having some defenses is great. So if you immobilize an enemy, the person you're bound to does additional damage to that enemy. Immobilization, wait, didn't we just hear about that 1 second ago in Imperial Mandate? These items go insane together. But this one is only immobilization. So let's say you're playing Morgana or Lux or Bard, and you smack them with a Q and you immobilize them. They are going to take an insane amount of damage. So if you're in a Morgana Caitlyn lane, Imperial Mandate plus Zekes Convergence will make your Caitlyn's one headshot actually just one-shot them. It's so much damage together. So I think Zekes Convergence is a fantastic item. Really, really good. Once again, for aggressive lanes, it is both aggressive and defensive. So if your champion has no mobilization, you can very, very strongly consider this. if you're a Leona could very well benefit from this item as well. So this item, if you've got immobilization, probably, in my opinion, best item in the game right now. Crazy. Okay, so Knight's Vow was changed in that any champion can use this. If you're ranged, it doesn't matter. You can take some damage away from your carry. This is an item you want to build if the enemy has assassins that are trying to one-shot your AD carry, and your AD carry needs that extra help. It's going to best go with something like Locket. So you build Locket and Knight's Vow together most frequently, I would say. I'm sure it would still work in other situations, but those are probably the best combinations. Because you are taking extra damage here. If you are that Lulu, you want to be careful with how much damage you're taking, because you could just die as well. But very, very good. It gives you movement speed when you're going towards them, that little bit of a Soraka passive towards them. And yeah, so you pretty much build it when your AD carry is in danger of getting one shot. Redemption is the same as before. It gives you lots of healing and shielding power, ability haste. Pretty much any champion, every support can build this. I would say it's better to build in the later stages of the game in most cases, because some other support items, getting them first is a lot better. But in team fights later on, this item is still going to reign supreme. Healing in big team fights can be really, really big. Mikhail's very situational item. You build it when the enemy team has a lot of CC or a very particular CC that can be very deadly, like a Zoe Sleep, for example, or maybe a Thresh Hook. And your ADC doesn't want to build a QSS or doesn't have Cleanse. This can be very, very important to buy. Once again, very situational, and then you can decide whether you want to build it early or late, depending on how frequently you're fighting. But it will be a must-buy in some games, so really keep your eye out for it. Last item is Vigilant Wardstone, and this is, we have to buy control wards anyways. This is your last item in your build. Very, very last item, and your control wards now give you some stats, so no complaints. There's not much to it. You just build this every game, last item, as support. Every game. Okay, so those are the main support items, but there are still some more situational ones. They actually have a support item that gives us grievous wounds, which is nice because, sometimes your AD carry really wants those item spikes. Maybe you're facing a Yuumi lane or a Soraka lane, and you're like, I don't want to deal with this amount of healing right now. I'm going to build an early Oblivion Orb, and it's not going to suck later because I have an item that I can actually build it into. So it has ability power and ability haste, so it doesn't feel terrible to build on a lot of champions. Situational, like if they've got a lot of healing. Okay, Abyssal Mask is kind of hot. Read the first word of the passive. Immobilizing a champion causes them to take increased damage. Didn't we just hear that a second ago? So we've got Imperial Mandate, Zekes Convergence, and Abyssal Mask, all giving bonus damage to someone you immobilize. One Morgana Q, one Lux Q, one Bard Q, but there's one very important thing. It has no ability haste on it, and it's very, very heavily magic resist. So if you're facing a full AD team, building this item is absolutely awful. Don't build this against full AD. But I'm just saying, if you're against really heavy AP, or maybe you're Bard and you don't care and you just want those stats, Abyssal Mask is definitely a viable option to go with those other two. You wouldn't just build it on its own most cases. You definitely build it with the other two. Zhonya's Hourglass is really, really cheap. I think that this item is slept on. Like I've been saying before, if you're a support and you've got, you're there to save your AD carry, but ain't nobody there to save you but you. You've got to save yourself. Zhonya's is an item that's slept on. I think I'm going to be building this more frequently on support. It would be really good for if you're facing a Rengar. The Rengar's probably going to jump on you in a lot of cases. If you're that Lulu, there's no reason you can't build Zhonya's on Lulu. There's no reason you can't build Zhonya's on Bard, on Nami. It gives you ability power, ability haste, armor, and it gives you that Zhonya's, which is really, really nice. Situational item, once again. Don't build this if you're not against those assassins coming after you, but it can be really, really good when the assassin jumps on you and can't kill you. The last one is just I'm gonna say situational for some AP carries in the bot lane, some AP mage supports. Like if you're playing Brand, you'll probably want this version of the item. If you're playing Morgana, this is an option. And the reason is because it gives you armor and magic resist. So if you're playing that Morgana and you're going in with your ultimate and you don't want to get one shot before you get your Zanyas off, this gives you a bunch of tank stats when you go in with your ultimate. So pretty dang good, I would say. It is pretty situational. It's just an option I threw in there. I thought it was kind of interesting because it gives you that armor and magic resist. It can be quite good for some support champions. But once again, it gives you no ability haste, so watch out for that. So now we're getting into the should we build these items or not? When should we build these items? Do we ever build these items? And who do we build these items on? Tank items, there's a lot of tank support items that we went through before, like these ones, Knight's Vow, Zekes Convergence, and that. And pretty much all the support items are giving you health, like Redemption, and all these give health. When do we build the tank items? I mean, if you're Leona and you're going in really deep, or maybe you're Nautilus and you're going in really deep, there's no reason you wouldn't be able to build the gargoyles and still benefit a lot from it. Leona would probably really benefit from Gargoyle Stone Plate. Leona would really benefit from the passive from Randu and Zomin. But these are only for tank supports, or if you play Tank Bard. Tank Bard could still really benefit from Deadman's Plate. There's no reason he wouldn't. I as a Bard player, I used to like building Spirit Visage on him. I think that these could be the most situational items there are, but really only on those tank supports, and later into the game when you've already built some of these items, maybe fourth item, you're like, I should build a really tanky item here. You can go for one of these options, just depending on what the enemy team is. So you'll really have to press tab and decide which one. Warmogs is probably the one you'd buy the least. I liked it on Tank Bard, but I mean, I'm a crazy man. Don't listen to me. But otherwise, these would definitely just be like fourth item tank support players. Okay, so other mythics for supports. I just threw in a bunch of other mythics, and which supports. There's some supports that didn't fit into the categories that I was talking about already. Like the Senna, like the Pantheon, like the Pike, who would all benefit from Eclipse. This is a lethality item and gives you a little bit of movement speed and shielding as you're doing your supporty stuff. So as support, these are still options if you play those like other kinds of supports. There's a lot of types of supports. Those Pikes, Sennas, and Pantheons will not really benefit from the other items I've mentioned so far. Pike probably really likes Duskblade, but you can also use Prowler's Claw. You can press E and Prowler's Claw behind them to get the stun instantly. You can Duskblade with your Pike and get your invisibility instantly to regen a little bit after you get a kill, right? There's a lot of different options you can do here. With Pantheon, jumping forward and getting a little bit of a shield when you proc the shield can be really nice with your engage. Let's say you're playing someone like... Well, I personally liked Turbo Chem Tank on Bard. If I'm playing Tank Bard, this feels really good because of the tenacity and slow resist on it. I thought this was totally an option. And I saw a Nautilus yesterday one-shotting people with Sunfire. Like, these are still viable options. I don't want to dissuade anybody from trying out other mythics by saying, like, these are the only ones that are going to work. No, there's a lot of options here. If you're mage support, you don't always want to have to buy Imperial Mandate. Maybe you're like, I'm going to try and carry this game. Or I'm on a champion I feel like I can carry. I'm playing Annie, and I want to use Rocket Belt to engage with my bear. Absolutely, go for it. Absolutely. You're playing Vel'Koz, and you want a long-range support with Night Harvester or Luden's Tempest. Maybe you're playing, like, Morgana or Zillion, and you want the slow from Everfrost to start things off, or Nico. Nico could benefit from Everfrost. Maybe you're playing Brand, and Leandri's Anguish is probably always going to be the best item for you, right? So these are still all very much options that you can consider when you're playing those supports that don't necessarily fit these 4 categories. You still have a lot of other mythics here to choose from, and you can go with whatever feels best for you. So that is pretty much all the items I'm going to talk about. You know, if you're playing a mage support, you'll just build a bunch of AP items based on the situation, right? If you're playing the AD support, you'll probably build a lot of the lethality items that are going to fit your situation, like Umbral Glaive for clearing wards and all that. You know, Morella Nomicon for grievous wounds. There's lots of different things that you can do with these other mythics for your supports that don't fit these 4 categories. I hope I didn't miss anything. You're more than welcome to come to my Twitch and ask me questions while I'm streaming. I'm very willing to answer them. And that's pretty much it for this video. I'm going to make another video for 80 carries, so I will see you in that video if you're going to watch. Anyways, thanks for watching, and much love.
Here's some bamboo, you're one of us. There's so much to do in the land of pandas.